In this video, I'm going to give you 5 bad speech habits that I recommend avoiding, and I also have a bonus tip for you. Okay, so the first one is speaking too quickly. Now, as you're learning English, you might think, oh my goodness, I need to speak fast because if I speak fast, I will be fluent and people will respect me as an English speaker. You want to fit in with other English speakers, maybe who are speaking quickly. I actually wrote about this on my Twitter recently. Sometimes you might feel like you have to speak super fast to prove yourself as a competent English speaker. But let me tell you, good communicators don't speak a mile a minute. They are more concerned with their message coming across clearly and being understood. So that is the gist of this idea. When you speak so fast, and if you have a heavy accent on top of that, and if you're still struggling with pronouncing certain sounds and certain words, that could really make your speech very unclear and difficult to understand. And this is actually something that a lot of native speakers do, especially younger people tend to do this. They speak very, very quickly. However, when you speak like that, it's not always easy for other people to understand. Okay, the next bad speech habit that you want to avoid is the overuse of fillers. Fillers are words like, you know, like, etc. So using these words once in a while can be okay because they help you connect your sentences and ideas in a natural native-like way. However, the overuse of fillers is very distracting to your listener and it can get very annoying. If someone is using you know, it's like, all the time in their speech, you're gonna be like, oh my goodness, get to the point. What are you trying to say? Just say it. Okay, so like I said, these are bad habits that native speakers have, and you might want to imitate them thinking, hey, if I do this, then I will sound more like a native speaker. Okay, but this is, like I said, these are bad habits. So sometimes I overuse the phrase, you know, and I probably picked this up from my mom because she does this as well. And sometimes Ren has to call me on it and he says, hey, Stephanie, can you please just stop using you know so much? And I tend to do this when I am explaining an idea that I have not fully thought about in my mind and I don't know exactly what I think. So when I'm communicating the idea, I'm like, you know, it's like, you know, and I'm not thinking first and then speaking. I'm trying to think and speak at the same time, and that's why it comes out like that. So it's often a better idea to think first, know what you think and feel, and then communicate. Okay, the next bad habit that I recommend avoiding is using offensive language and cursing, or rather the overuse of cursing and using offensive language, especially if you do not talk like this in your native language. So depending on what kind of content you consume, maybe in your native language you don't really curse, you don't really use offensive language, but maybe you're following all these vloggers that do, or maybe you have friends at school that do talk like this, and so you feel, oh, well, the people I'm around talk like this, and you feel like you want to fit in, so you start talking like that, and it just doesn't feel like you, okay? Plus, by using this language, it can get you into trouble. If you are a professional and you're using this language in an interview or something like that, you know, maybe you're not gonna get hired. So you have to know what type of language is appropriate for what situation, and you have to be really, really, really careful with offensive language, because one of the last things you learn as a language learner is the connotation of words, how it makes other people feel, the feelings behind words. Okay, so not just the word and the definition, but the attitudes associated with the word that other people might have. So for you to say something that might be really offensive, like the N word, which I'm not gonna say, you might think nothing of it, right? But for other people, that could really be offensive, and you just wanna be careful how you portray yourself. And again, if you're not like this in your native language and you find that you're surrounded with native speakers who do talk like that, don't feel pressured to be someone you are not. Okay, so the first one is speaking too quickly.
Okay, so the first one is speaking too quickly.
actually wrote about this on my Twitter recently.
I actually wrote about this on my Twitter recently.
But let me tell you, good communicators don't speak a mile a minute.
But let me tell you, good communicators don't speak a mile a minute.
And this is actually something that a lot of native speakers do, especially younger people tend to do this.
And this is actually something that a lot of native speakers do, especially younger people tend to do this.
Okay, the next bad speech habit that you want to avoid is the overuse of fillers.
Okay, the next bad speech habit that you want to avoid is the overuse of fillers.
Fillers are words like you know, like, etc.
For example, words like you know, like, etc.
Is using offensive language and cursing, or rather the overuse of cursing and using offensive language.
Using offensive language and cursing, or rather the overuse of cursing and using offensive language.